big thank you, first of all, to yourself and also to our audience as well for taking the time to listen to this. I'm going to say that it's Liam Hartley here today with another episode of Simply Inspired, and today is episode 486. And today I am joined by a very special guest, and I'm very, very honored to bring this man to the show today. I must say, guys, we're connecting all the way from Cyprus to Vietnam, which is absolutely incredible. My afternoon and his evening. Today's guest, Thien Tran Hoan. I'm probably messing it up again, but I'm sorry if I am. A wonderful yoga and meditation teacher, as I've mentioned, teaching out of Vietnam, and a person who teaches a classical style of these traditions, somebody who makes a positive impact on the lives of a lot of people. He will have his own definitions for everything, which we will talk about shortly. But let's just say this lovely, gentle soul is a person who really helps so many people, teaching students from all around the world about the spiritual path. And today, our intention for creating this interview is just to show you, first of all, that there is a better way of living, there is a better way of inner peace and harmony with yourself and those around you. And also the fact that the spiritual path is accessible to all people. So, with that being said, I would like to welcome you very much to today's episode of Simply Inspired podcast. Now, before we started recording, my friend, I'm going to mention one other thing. You were telling me about your name and you were telling me about the goodness and perfect completeness. Um, I think people will find it interesting. Can you tell us that story one more time, please, as to the meaning of your name, just as a little warm up question, and then we will begin with your life from there. But your name has a wonderful meaning, so I would like our viewers to hear it as well as myself, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Liam. So my name is Thien. That means in Vietnamese it means goodness, and it also represent all the good meanings, all the good actions toward yourself and toward others as well. And the second name is Hoan, means Hoan Thien means complete goodness. So that goes hand in hand together. And the last name is just my family names, and actually, when I first hear about my names, when I first hear about the meaning from my parents, I actually feels a little bit of pressures and a little bit of uncertainty because I'm not really that good, you know. But still, I mean, I just keep going on and try to live with my names, and they put a lot of meanings in Vietnamese and to their son, to their children, to their daughter. So that's how they want them to be. That's how they expect them to be when they grow up.
Wonderful. That's a beautiful meaning, very beautiful meaning. And all of us can only try to be the best that we can be. And that is the process. So, obviously, today we will be talking about yoga, about meditation, and about how you became a yogi. And I think a place to start, a good place to start is the beginning, is where you first became interested in spiritual practices. Now, obviously, you are in a country with very rich history in these ways, not only spiritually, but lots of other ways as well. But particularly, we're focusing on the spiritual aspect today. So, was yoga and meditation something you were involved in from a young age, or was it something that came into your life at a later time? May we start there, please? Thank you.
Okay, so that's a good start. So the first thing I want to separate from this topic is the first one you mentioned, spiritual part, and then in Vietnam, it's not really called spiritual, but it's more like leaning toward religion. Yeah, religion. So as you see in Buddhism here, so they teach also meditation. They teach also how to live life, and all the aspect of spiritual. So, but for me, myself, going toward the yoga way, I would say we should separate them. So, spiritual part is something that everyone has, and the religious part is something that you go with that community. Yeah. So, spiritual is something that you also have within you. So it's a kind of a individual thing. So there's no right or wrong. It's just yourself. And sometimes there's conflicts on the religious part, but we're not going to mention here. And for yoga and meditation, for me, it's just happened, I would say, very randomly. Yeah. So I have no plan to become like practicing yoga. I have no plan to live the yoga way. But so when I was young, as a youngster, they are fascinated with all that aerobics movement and all that stuff. So it is about 12 years ago. So when I was a teenager and I see on the movie stars and they do a lot of movement, they do a lot of jumping, somersaults, all that. So I got interesting. And then I go and search on the internet those movement, and it lead me to a kind of name that are strange for me at that time. That is yoga. Yeah, and yoga at that time for me is just the movement. It's just how you practice your physical aspect and all that. And from that point, that is my first impressions about yoga. And later on, during my high school period, I also practice yoga on and off, but usually because of a lot of stress learning and all that, and have to absorb all that knowledge. So you need some kind of activity to keep yourself motivated and all that. So yoga is something that I can also do at home. I can just do on the mat. You can just do it everywhere. So I feel like it's not too vigorous like other sports, and it's not too relaxing. So I find it's the combination of both. So I just going on with that. But uh, the moment when I start taking yoga into the spiritual part is after COVID-19. Yeah, I know that after COVID, a lot of things has changed and a lot of people lives get affected and all that. Yeah, so it's like the great change of the century. So I would say that that moment it also changed me as well. And when I was locked down at home, I tried to search, I tried to do everything. So basically, you either eat, sleep, and do nothing, I would say, because you are not allowed to get out. And then I just feel that my health getting worse. I got a lot of nightmares. I got a lot of health issues. I got stomach ulcers and all that mental problems as well. But then I remember, and then I also the advice from the internet is as long as you keep doing something, you just do it. Even just a simple actions of waking up and just put your feet down on the floor. That is already a success. So from that point of view, it's also changed me how just simple movement, just brushing the teeth and all that. It it has the tremendous effect on the people that are doing yoga, the people that are having depressions and all kind of mental illness, I would say. So from that moment, I realized that I have to do something. I have to practice something at home, and that is the first thing I come in mind is yoga. So because I have the impression about yoga when I was teenager, so I just come to it instantly, and I start moving my hand. I start moving up and down, twisting all that, and so that is the moment when I feel I'm so much better and all that I have to but first I have to practice the I have to visit the doctors and to see my illness getting healed and getting sorted, and then I start practicing yoga because the thought process at that moment is I don't want to keep it like this. Yeah. So I know that the moment that you get out of the hospital, you get out of medications, those conditions might come back. And that moment when you get healthy again, you just realize that your health is not something that you got for free. So you have to keep it, you have to maintain it, and all that. And so I start practicing yoga, and it's getting more consistent day by day, week by week, month by month. And then I start want to understand the effect of the practice that I do during that time. So I got on the internet and I just searching for more. I would say at that moment I just want to get more movement to do. So but so on the internet, it also appears as something, a lot of words. Yeah. So the first finding that I found is the Yoga Sutra of Maharishi Patanjali. Yeah. So that is when I also have time. I also have I would say practice, experience according to what it say. And so I feel even though I don't understand a lot of meaning inside that sutra, but a part of me feel that it really applied in my condition. And from that moment on, I try to learn the sutra and I try to uh, absorb all that knowledge, but I just cannot. And so I searching for somewhere I can learn more, somewhere some people that can teach me, and then I search for online, and they say the Yoga Institute. So that is when I start actually practicing yoga, the way of living, and yoga as the spiritual aspects of life. Yeah.
An amazing story, my friend. Very inspiring. And I'm glad to hear that your health is so much better now from these practices, firstly, mentally, physically, and every other way. I liked your description as well of the religious and the spiritual life. So thank you for educating me on these things because I'm still learning. And I think that leads into a very important topic for our audience because there are misconceptions around this, misunderstandings, if you like, around some of these topics. And although this is quite a big question in a way, I would like to go deeper into what you've already started there as to what this religious path and the spiritual aspect, but also the religious aspect, and what it really means to live yoga meditation as a lifestyle, not just as a practice. Because what you're describing in terms of your journey is a journey of transformation of yourself, of your health, of your heart, in terms of uh, not literally your heart, but the spiritual religious aspect. But the transformation and what it really means to live a yogic life, because I feel that I've seen a lot of commercialism around yoga, whereas you are obviously taking this to the root, back to the root. So, can you explain perhaps some of the misunderstandings that people have when they come to see you, and maybe for our audience to clarify one or two of those? We won't be able to clarify all of them, but maybe if we pick a couple of important ones, it would be very helpful to some people who are practicing. So, if that makes sense, may we discuss that topic, please? Thank you.
Yeah. So that is a very loud questions, but at first I want to go again with the religions and spiritual part. And so religious is something that it goes with a community. It goes with the saying of, for example, like the Buddha, and then they just the student they learn it from it, and then they just put that exact aspect, and then they keep teaching and move on. And so from that one source of the Buddha, and then you see there's a lot of many different ways, many different interpretations, many different teachings, all that. And so it's has a little bit of the individual, let's say, aspect of teaching all that. So it's not, so the further it moves from the source, it losing that original aspect. Yeah. And so, as you mentioned, going to go back to the root is when you also try to connect all the dots and put it into one. And that is also the meaning of yoga. So yoga means yuj in Sanskrit. So that means to combine as one, to put something as one, to concentrate all that. So so yoga also works on that source of everything, as I just mentioned. So it doesn't put all that personal aspect, it doesn't put all that religious aspect, but it more concentrates on the spiritual aspect. And so it combined into one, and it makes yourself, in a way, living better, I would say. For yoga and meditation in the yogic way. So as you so let's say in a simple words. So as the posture. So yeah, so everything when I said people when I talk about yoga, and the first thing that come to the mind is the posture, yoga asanas, and all that twist and all that. So let's talk about the name, as you said, the meaning of the name. And I really love these questions at the start because, as you see in many posture in yoga, they name it after element of nature. They name it after the animals. So, so they name it according to the nature. Yeah. So as I say, uh, nature is something that inspires. So inspired yoga. So no one can say the history of yoga. It's just been there since the moment humans was born, and it just go with the nature. It just follow that. There's some rules in nature you have to follow as well. So to live in a yogic way is also to live in harmony with nature. Let's put it simple as that. Yeah. So for example, you see the trees, they are in the morning, they also take in the carbon dioxide and then they release oxygen. And for us, we take in the reverse. So we take in oxygen and we release carbon dioxide. So similarly, you see the links between them. So you see the link between the trees and you see the link between us. So that is when you live in harmonies. So just know that connection so that you can live in a way that is not destroying. Yeah. So that is healing. I would say the healing aspect. So when you just go with the natures, well, when you just go with the go back to the source that is nature, then you can feel more, I would say, more relaxing, less stress, all that problems that we have today. So it's because of that. So by going back to the source, all that problems will be solved.
Makes a lot of sense, and I find the community aspect makes a lot of sense. The sangha, isn't it, as they say, Buddhism concept, but also the harmony between things. Yes, I notice this beautiful connection across many faiths. Broadly, I'm going to say in your part of the world, I don't mean any generalizations, but I notice I've interviewed with Buddhism, Hinduism, Shinto, and a number of other things, and the harmony is very beautiful, I must say. And I am going to say, even though this is also generalization, people in my part of the world could do with more harmony, but that's another story. Anyway, so this is the meaning, and when you're taking it back to the root like this. Is that why you describe yourself as a classical teacher? Because if I'm not mistaken, on your LinkedIn, it says about classical, and not everyone makes that distinction. So, am I correct in saying that this is because of what you've just described, that you're taking this back to its true, pure source, which I don't hear from everyone? Is that correct, please?
Yeah. So in a sense, that is, in a sense, in a point of view, that is correct. But as for myself, I'm also the practitioner, so I'm not reaching anywhere. I'm not reaching all that stuff, all that stages. But I'm also living the life that inspire not only myself, but also inspire others to be with yourself. Yeah, to put it that way. So in yoga, we also emphasize on experience. So experience of yourself, experience with the other things. So for example, let's say miracles. Yeah. So how do you know it's miracle? Only when you can experience it, right? So even though you can hear people say, "Oh, I got this miracle, I got that miracle," but some part in you, they it just happened experience, and so you need to first get the hang on of that experience. Only when you can actually believe in something higher, something spiritual. So let's put it that way.
That makes sense. Okay. So you mentioned earlier about this is coming back to your life more personally, just for a moment. You mentioned about the COVID times and the restrictions and your learning and your evolution. But I would like to go a stage further and talk about obviously your life as a practitioner and as a teacher of yoga and of meditation and of everything that we've been talking about, because really the intangible quality of how rewarding it must be to help people in the way that you do by guiding them to the path, to the truth, back to the
Yeah.
roots, however we define these things, as you've been doing a wonderful job of defining them. Can you share with us what that experience is like for you? Because before we began, you also mentioned that people come to see you from all around the world, and you gave a beautiful description of the fact that they bring the world to you, which is lovely. But in terms of the help that you give them and the peace and the harmony that you help them discover within themselves, I would like to go deeper into that process, what it feels like, and what it is like for you in your role as a teacher. I suppose the aspect of how you define what it means to really be a teacher will also become relevant in this topic. But let us begin with your experiences, please, and we can go from there. Thank you.
Yeah. So experience. So when I first experienced the miracles, when I feel stuck in life, you know, some when people have stuck in life, when people just don't know where to go, usually they just pray. Yeah. So usually they just pray some other reality that could help them and all that to get them moving. So that is the first experience of miracles that come to me. So I just let's put it simple. When I feel the miracle is when I pray toward the universe. As you already probably knows about a lot of people say, oh, universe and all that. Yeah. So in spirituality, this is just got mentioned a lot, but I doubt that a lot of people just experience it. So so when I pray, I just don't ask for something that is, let's say, money. I just don't ask for money. I just don't ask for success. I just want to ask to get out of that situation, to get moving. And then somehow I just could not imagine, and it couldn't be explained by logic. But so let's put that example. So when I was in secondary high school, so I was almost at the bottom of my class. Let's say that. Yeah. And in no way, in no way I could reach to the upper part of that list. But but then I feel a lot of pressure. I feel a lot of stuck here and there, and my study just couldn't get any better. But then I pray to whoever's out there, whoever listen to my prayers. So I wish that I could reach to the top five. So, from someone who is down at the bottom to top five, that is something unbelievable, right? So that is when I just experience it. I don't even know how, but after a period of times, I just exactly at the position five. And it's just something that I question a lot. So usually when you got the taste of the miracles, you have to observe and you have to question because it's just no way, like in no way logic can explain, and still you can do it. And I believe a lot of people also experience this in their own situation. But uh, for me, that is something that is profound. So it changed me from the people who doesn't believe in anything, who doesn't follow any religions into something in me. So that I know that there's something out there or there's something in here that works.
That's a beautiful description. I mean, you are a very good speaker, very eloquent speaker as well, and perhaps that plays a part in your teaching. The miracles aspect in that way that you're describing there, I've also experienced. So I know it. I know that to be true. The things that you can't explain any other way, including patterns that lead you to a place where you think, okay, how did I get here? I never could have planned this with my mind, but it is a plan that's much bigger. Yes, I've also experienced this, so I know exactly what you mean in this aspect. That's a beautiful description, and that's a very valuable lesson for people to open themselves with humility to a higher power. So as I mentioned, those are some miracles for you. And as I mentioned with the positive impact that you have, if somebody comes to you wishing to learn and say they are suffering a great deal, as you once were with what you've already told me, and you have the ability to help them ease that. Now, as I mentioned earlier, in many ways you're helping them to uncover things within themselves that they know that they've lost sight of it or whatever. But nonetheless, you are still guiding them on the path. And when you see people's lives change through these practices that you've taught, from when they are having terrible difficulties to when they're living joyful and blissful experience, how do you feel in your heart when you see that change in one of your students from negative to positive?
So the first thing I want to make it clear. So usually in life we define positive and then the other aspect is negative, right? So for me, this is all a part of the same process. So for example, let's say the positive of sunlight, so it gives the heat, it gives all that. But when you get too close to the sun, then you get burned. Yeah. So there's positive and also negative. So they go hand in hand. It's just one the aspect. So this is good, and the others just are bad. So they just one. So when people come to me and they actually don't say anything, but I can feel their aura, let's say that. So for example, the aura to be particularly is, for example, when probably they're shouting and they are not focusing and they're just too disturbed with their own things. So I just, in that situation, I just don't say anything. I just ask them to uh, move to experience. And then at the end of the session, they feel that way. So when I say to people that I am a yoga teacher, but in fact, I'm just a guy. Yeah. So they found their own path. I'm just like a guy, and they found their own path. Everyone has their own path, and when they done, let's say the yoga with me, and for example, when they just move their body around, when they just experience their breath, and then they just feel more calm. They just feel more, let's say, lighter. Yeah, and so I can feel that, for example, in a case in my class, so when he comes, he's very irritated. And I also got irritated from him. So that is the energy, the aura of the energy that can also affect me as well. But as long as I stick to the breath and stick to the movement according to that breath, so they go from too much irritation, too much loss of things in their minds into just feeling relaxed and let go. So that is the way I teach people. And also the way that I mean teachers here is also I learn from them as well. So to teach is just another stage of learning. I was put that into that aspect. And so to me, when they come with to me like that in that situation, so I also experience first. I experience my teachings and their conditions, how it can go hand in hand, how I can resolve that problems into something I can learn from after that session. I can learn from their reactions. I can learn from their response. And also I can learn from within myself. I can learn from my heart also. So when you're helping someone, you also feel happy. When they feel happy, you also feel happy. As I say, the energy that can also affect. So the negative effect, negative energy can also affect you, but also when you are positive, you can also affect others people. So that ways you can inspire or discourage people that way. So it basically based on how you feel within yourself first, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. Yeah, you have to have some content inside of it. Yeah, you can just learn from people. For example, you learn all the sayings, all that quotes, and then you just teach you to others. So it doesn't work that way. So it's more like so when you have something inside of you, and when you can say your own words, your own quotes, that is when you actually can inspire others and can actually change others without forcing them to do anything. So my kind of teaching is not forcing them to do anything as well. So I just let them experience. If they feel good, if they feel relaxed, that's fine. If they cannot, maybe some other times. So, there's also the time aspect as well. So as let's say Einstein said that times is relative, right? So no one is on that path that, for example, all of them come to me and all of them feel happy and all of them feel light. No, it doesn't go out that way. So everyone has their own aspect, everyone has their own pace. So if they cannot feel it now, they can feel it later. Or if they cannot feel it later, maybe next life. Let's put it in that perspective. Yeah. So some people they already there, some people they are not, but it's just the whole cosmic things and it's just a lot of complications.
I'm learning more from talking to you than I have in a long. But okay, well, first of all, thank you for that, by the way, because I do these to help other people, but I also learn. Obviously, I want to learn as much as I can, and to be a better person, really, I guess. And you mentioned something there about the auras, yes? Now, your aura is very lovely, in the sense that you have very positive energy, very light. You also use the word light, if you're light, and you definitely feel that, which is part of the reason I contacted you as well, is because you look online at people, you can kind of tell, but you also get the feeling, not only from what they write, and you have a good feeling. Um, how do you cultivate that to that degree? Because what you said before about you have something inside of you and then you can pass it to others. You see, I've been listening as carefully as I can, yes, and I know you have to do the practices. But I'm going off topic here to this question, which I did not have planned for you. Okay, I've just sit down talking with you, and I'm thinking, wow, like this guy has a very almost sparkly feeling, I guess. Um, I mean it hand on heart, like water. Where I live in Cyprus is by the sea. It's like blue sea, and when the sun is shining on the sea, you have like the nice thing. Maybe this sounds very strange. I don't know, but honestly, is the feeling that I get. So, how can people purify themselves in the way that you have? Because obviously you've been practicing a lot of years, so I understand that's a big part of it. But it can't just be the practice. It has to be something else to do with your intention or maybe your connection to the divine that you were telling me about earlier. You don't get the feeling that you have with every teacher, frankly. That's the truth. So I'm curious how you've cultivated these these qualities, going deeper into the energy aspect, if that's okay, my friend. I don't know if I'm making sense with this, but I'm asking this question on the instinct to ask it, on the feeling that I have to the pull to ask it, not on the logic. So yeah,
Yeah.
I listen to that as well as you do. So that's why I'm asking. So if that makes sense, may we talk about this topic, please? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So for some things, sometimes it doesn't make sense in words, sometimes it doesn't make sense when you just say it. But to some people, they can understand it. And what most importantly is how they feel it, right? So what you mentioned is how people can, for example, like me, they cannot just practice and just become like something, right? So that is also the aspect that is correct as well. So for example, that you do push up like 100 times a day and you do it day by day, all that. So does it help you getting better? Does it help you getting all that muscle mass? So in a way it does, but in a way it also destroys you. Yeah. So first thing I would say is to observe. The first experience that you have is you have to observe it first. And then, so experience is something that you observe inside yourself, if that makes sense. So from that observation point, you need to also have, for example, question like, what is my feeling? How am I feeling? Okay. So from that question, it so the moment you start asking, you're also seeking for some answers, right? An answer is the solution, I would say. It also means the knowledge. Yeah. So for others to actually transform, for others to actually feel, they need to observe first. And observe alone is not enough, just like practice. They also have to ask questions, like to how this goes, to how this works, and everything. Yeah. And asking alone is not enough. For example, like if you're asking logically, you wouldn't come to any solutions. Uh, let's say, let's put it this way. So in life, there's also two sides of a polar. So two polars. So there's one positive and negative I just mentioned, but there's one aspect that is it also works, but it also doesn't work. So for example, let's put this medication. Yeah. So when you see on the descriptions of any medication, there's side effect. Yeah. It helps you, but it also brings the unwanted result back. Yeah. But in a minimized way. So life you cannot ask for any medication that's only healed you without any side effect. Yeah. So for some, if you cannot answer those questions, if you cannot find all the knowledge, you have to let go. Yeah, you have to let go. You have to observe more to let it pour inside you. For example, you just when you don't understand how it works, you just observe. For example, you just let go of that question. You just let go of that desire to get the answer, and then you actually get the answer. For example, let's say you want to deal with stress. Yeah. So so stress is something that everyone knows. Yeah. But the moment that you keep finding answers to how I relieve the stress, how I resolve stress, how I keep the stress away, you got even more stress. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So the moment that you add that question, you cannot find the answer. You just have to let go. Yeah, let go is also a part of the answer as well, but not many people willing to accept that answer. And so when you are stressful, you just let go of everything and you just, for example, observe the nature, you just observe everything. And actually, that is when it kicks in. That is when your problems get solved. Yeah. So, so it's kind of, like I would say something twisted, for example. And a lot of people, they might not understand the whole aspect. And so they just talk about one aspect, but it also twisted in the other way. Yeah. And so they can never get to their conclusions or they cannot get clear. And I would say that is the answer for my part.
That makes a lot of sense. Yes, very, very profound. And there's a number of interesting implications there, but it makes a lot of sense because it's really something that stands out from you to me is as it does with a number of great teachers is you sit with them and as you said earlier like I'm sitting with you and I have an experience just from sitting in your presence, which I think is testament to the practice. And you don't get that with everyone. I've had that a few times, but it's interesting. Okay, now we're coming up on quite late in your evening, my friend. So and I think we've gone past the 45 minutes that I mentioned. Um, and it is late, and I am mindful of this. One of the things I would like to touch on is that if people would like to connect with you and learn more from you directly, because today we've given them an appetizer, if you like, of some of these things with the spiritual path. But I'm happy because we've got some aspects for beginners, but we've also got some aspects for people who are on the path, but they want to go like a bit deeper. And also we've touched on what I mentioned earlier of your life and the accessibility of this path. So I will close out today because it's 10 p.m. there and I respect that. Perhaps we can do a part two at some point. But for now, we have had a very nice talk. If people wish to learn from you personally, and some people will feel the pull to do that, how may they contact you on social media, websites, these kinds of things, please?
Uh, yeah, well, people can also connect with me through WhatsApps, through Instagrams, and all that. So I would say I would recommend WhatsApp because I can also answer directly. I can also feel uh, more connected to them instead of just social medias and all that glamour.
Excellent. Okay. Good. So WhatsApp, and they can find that number on your Instagram or on your LinkedIn or somewhere, or should they message you and you will send them the WhatsApp? I guess is the best way.
Uh, yeah, okay. So you can also put the numbers which I will message you later.
Okay. Yes, yes, please. Just in case anyone wants to connect with you directly and come there to learn from you. Some people will feel that. But other than that, my friend, I really am very grateful for your time, but more than your time, I'm very grateful for your presence and for you speaking from the heart so much about your experiences and using your experiences for the betterment of all beings. I really appreciate that. It's very wonderful. And I always say that the beauty of doing a podcast like this is two things. One is if we touch even one person's life, we have done our work. But also, it will be more because we release something like this now, but then 5 years from now, somebody might be listening to this at a time when they are ready. It doesn't have to just be like this month, this year. The podcast has a long term method. So that's the other beautiful thing is maybe somebody isn't ready today, but maybe a year from now, they will listen to this and think, "Oh, that's so inspiring. It makes so much sense because they have grown to that point." So I appreciate it very, very, very much. And once again, thank you very much for your time and for your presence today. And other than that, leave it with me. I will promote this everywhere I can, and I will send you when it's released as well. But for now, I wish you a very good evening, and may you be well. How do you say thank you in Vietnamese?
Yeah. So thank yous here means cảm ơn.
Gamma.
You can cảm ơn. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Cảm
yeah,
ơn. Yeah.
thank you very much. And yes, may you be well. I wish you a restful evening. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, so thank you, all that who's watching, all that who's listening. So this podcast is something I wish to also do in the past, but it turned into like what I mentioned, prayer. But now it's actually come true. It's not me who doing it, but it's you who bring the miracle to me. So that is something.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. I didn't realize. There we are. You see, well, I had the feeling to contact you, and I just knew it was right. So there we are. You see, it's the universe, it's the divine working through us. So, oh, that's wonderful. An answer to your prayer. Well, I'm very very humbled to hear that, and that's beautiful.
yeah.
There we are. Well, yes, once again, wonderful evening, and we will speak soon for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Very, very welcome. And you've done a wonderful job of sharing so much wisdom. So, yes, you take care. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.